Terence Crawford is never going to fight Jaron Boots Ennis. Not because he's afraid, not because Boots is such a big threat to him, which he is, but I just don't think it makes sense for Terence Crawford to fight Boots, to be honest with you guys. And as much as I've always said that Boots and Crawford is probably the best welterweight fight there is right now in the sport of boxing at 147, but obviously we're hearing about the Spence rematch between Crawford and Spence, and it seems like Crawford's trying to find his way out of it, and that's fine. I've said it before. I'm not mad at that. I understand completely, because like it would be different if the fight was really competitive, even a little bit more competitive than it was. It would be different. But the fact that that fight could have been stopped in round 4, in my opinion, and then also again in round 6 or 7, and then it went on for 2 more rounds and eventually got stopped in the 9th round, which I thought was pretty late. You know, Spence took a beating, but you know, he's just that kind of warrior. It's still, as much as I like to think that Terence Crawford's going to honor his word, which he is, but you know, his longtime friend was saying how the fight was made at 147 pounds, so if Terence Crawford is only willing to fight at 147 pounds and he sends that over in the contract and Errol Spence declines it, that's Errol Spence's problem, to be honest, because the initial fight took place at 147. The contract states that the loser gets to decide whether or not they want to activate the rematch clause, and which Errol Spence has done, but the winner gets to determine the weight. And if Terence Crawford wants to make it at 147 and Errol Spence in response doesn't want to take it, then that's fine. That's allowed in the contract. And a lot of people are talking about how Terence Crawford isn't a man of his word because he said he'd be comfortable at 54. Terence Crawford himself said that 147 isn't easy for him to make, so why wouldn't you fight Spence at 54? Because realistically, Terence Crawford doesn't want to fight a rematch. It doesn't warrant a rematch. The beating that he put on Spence, he feels like he has to go get another big fight, another big challenge, because that fight wasn't competitive. Let's be real, you know, and this is coming from somebody who picked Errol Spence to win the fight, but it doesn't really warrant a rematch. I think that even though there's a clause in there, I think when a fight's so one-sided, such a beatdown, I think that there has to be some consideration in there, and they have to alter the contract after that, because if it's a decision, if it goes to a decision period, that's a different story. You know, it's like Kambosos and Haney. But if you're getting beat up for 8 out of the 9 rounds in the first round, you could arguably give it to Spence, and that's arguably. You could still easily give that round to Crawford, but it was just such a beatdown. I don't get why it's such a big deal that Terence Crawford is obviously trying to avoid the rematch with Spence, not because he's scared, but because he has a bigger fish to fry, you know, the winner of Canelo and Charlo, and that's a big fight for him, and he's asked for it on Twitter. He's talking about it, very vocal about fighting the winner, who we expect to be Canelo. So a Canelo and Terence Crawford fight, that's going to sell a lot. That might do more than 650,000 pay-per-view buys. I think that's the biggest fight to make in the sport of boxing right now that's actually realistic, because you talk about the lightweight division, you have guys like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Tank, Loma, those guys. A lot of people want to see those guys get in the mix, and you could even throw Teofimo Lopez in there. But realistically, a lot of those fights are hard to make just because of the timing. Everyone's talking about the timing, and I hate hearing about that. I want to see these fights between Tank, Shakur, Devin, Loma, and Teofimo when they're still young. You know, Loma's a little older, but the rest of them, you need to see those fights early. You know, it's not always about the timing. Sometimes you have to make these fights happen before it's too late and these guys aren't in their primes anymore. When these guys hit 30, the fight is gonna, you know, lose its value. Even though people think that when you wait, the magnitude of the fight always builds. It's not always the case. Sometimes it's too late and then more excuses are built in, and people hear, oh, those guys are finally fighting, that's cool. But if you make the fight now, they're gonna watch. That's the tricky thing about boxing. But I think Terence Crawford, I think he's making the right decision. I already said, like, I think a rematch goes differently a little bit. I think Errol Spence turns the tide in terms of making it a little bit more competitive, but I think Terence Crawford probably still too fast for him. Too much skill, too much of an arsenal for Errol Spence right now. I think it wouldn't be enough time for Errol to make the adjustments required in order to beat him, I don't think. You know, anything's possible, don't get me wrong. I don't see it happening after that performance. Like I said before, I always say it, Terence Crawford and Errol Spence was a fight that I needed to see play out, and after seeing it the first time, I don't think I need to see it again. I think I got everything I needed to see from the first fight, and it was a good fight. It was entertaining. It was a spectacle, a good event for the sport of boxing. But let's be real, it wasn't very competitive. That was a Terence Crawford beatdown clinic. So, you know, I want to see Terence in there with Boots, but realistically, Boots doesn't have enough to offer in terms of a draw. He's not much of a draw yet. He will be. He's a bad dude for sure. He's probably the best welterweight, you know, alongside Terence Crawford, maybe just a little bit under him. But I don't think he's ever going to get that shot. And even he has nothing that Terence Crawford wants. Terence Crawford has nothing to gain from beating Boots Ennis. If he beats Boots, then people are going to say, you know, he was supposed to do that. He's the champ. He's undisputed. But at the same time, you know, if he loses, he has a lot more to lose. So what's really the point? It's a risky fight when he could go up and fight Canelo and make millions of dollars. So multi-millions, you know, we're talking Canelo Alvarez bringing the whole country of Mexico, and then on top of that, his American supporters. So that's a lot of pay-per-view sales. And I think, you know, Terence Crawford and Canelo is just the fight to make right now. I think that's the biggest fight in boxing, you know, that could realistically be made in the next year. So we'll see what happens, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, that's probably more likely than seeing Boots, unfortunately, but we'll see what Boots does next. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, but thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what else you guys want to see me talk about, but thank you guys for watching once again, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. That's going to do it for another Naz Fight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.